For the next hour, deepen your shade of green. This is the Shades of Green radio show, featuring the latest in technology, money-saving ideas, legislative updates, and all things green. The Shades of Green radio show is presented by the Green Alliance. Now here's your hosts, Paul Ira and Stan Hannell.
Good morning. This is Paul Ira on Shades of Green. We have Stan Hannell in Studio 2. We are sponsored by Green Alliance and NV Energy. Today we're going to talk green things. Go figure. Good morning, Stan.
Good morning.
So we're going to talk about the Green Gala Awards Banquet, which was held on Saturday, as well as we got a little tidbit in here about the royal wedding. And then we're going to talk about what Volkswagen's doing with our highways. So let's start out this morning with letting our listeners know that if you have questions and you'd like to call in, 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-KDWN. Last week we had a caller from Chicago.
Yeah,
so,
amazing. Yeah,
it was amazing.
You.
I didn't realize our beautiful words are traveling so far, but that's great. So if you're out there and you're in another state other than Las Vegas, give us a call. Let us know you're listening. Ask your questions and see if we can't help you learn something more about being sustainable and help saving this planet. So Saturday we had the Green Gala Awards. Annette was up there giving away awards, and the beautiful Rose McKinney James was our master of ceremonies, and a lot of great awards were given out there for a lot of great reasons. So we had the Rob Dornson Award, which is very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. The Arnold Lopez Lifetime Achievement Awards. And it's always great to get together with all the people, like-minded folks in the Valley that are trying to help things. And it helps me see over and over how green Las Vegas actually is. We are doing a great job here. Some of the things people may not know. Clark County residents have reduced water usage and have the least water usage of anybody per capita in the United States. So even though our population is continuing to growing, we are continuing to use less and less water per capita in the city, which is very important if you've been out to Lake Mead. We'll have a show one of these days on just water, talk about where it goes and how it gets used. Another thing I'll touch on today is recycling. I've always been a big advocate of recycling. If you throw everything away, please recycle your plastic. That is one thing. You know, if you don't recycle a tin can, it'll rust away in a few years. Paper will go wet and disintegrate in no time. Plastic can be 300-400 years, so it doesn't go away. Don't throw your plastic away. Recycle it. Only about 15% of the plastic in this world is being recycled.
Wow.
50% of all the plastic that exists was made in the last 15 years.
My gosh, wow.
So it's amazing stuff, and we'll go into a little bit of that later. So let's talk about the Green Gala. It was a great event. Everybody's out there all dressed up and happy. It's
good food.
Good food. There was an open bar. There was a raffle.
And Opportunity Village was the host at the Engelstad campus. That was a lot of fun, and we even had some ambassadors from Opportunity Village who were helping seat people at tables and some great catering service as well.
They did a great job. It was good food. Unfortunately, I win at every event, and this time I didn't win anything.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, the stars must have been out of alignment here.
Well, they were aligned because someone gave me one of their free gifts for
cool.
the winnings, and so I walked away with a prize anyway. So
good.
I'm holding my record of winning at every event.
All right.
So back to Rose McKinney James. She's a champion of sustainability, and as someone said up there, as you start it down any thread of sustainability, it'll probably lead to Rose at some point. And she's a great advocate of sustainability and helps a lot, and she knows what she's talking about. She's always bubbly and full of life. I think she's run by renewable energy.
It's in her blood there.
It's in her blood. That woman never slows down. It's great. We also had speaking Debbie Donaldson, author of Superpowers 365. She did a great job. You want to speak?
Yeah, I really liked her message too. She talked about when things go bad. Debbie was the former publisher for the Las Vegas Business Press for, I think, a couple decades, about 20 years or so. And then she had a cancer episode and overcame it and kind of bounced back went through chemotherapy and all that. And so her book is pretty much about when things do go bad and when there's things that looks like they're negative or downturns. There's usually a way to find an opportunity in there to turn it around, to transform the situation. And so that was kind of the talk of her speech last night. And she pointed out that most of the folks in the room there had done that during the recession. We live in the desert where we kind of need to conserve anyway. But when we got hit by the Great Recession, it really impacted our housing industry, our construction industry. Everything kind of took a nosedive. And I think that's when a whole bunch of independent organizations like the Green Alliance and U.S. Green Building Council and a lot of other people just joined together and say, what can we do to make it better? How can we pull out of this, sustain, and then also how can we make things better? And so the fruit of all that over the last 7-8 years has been the great growth we've seen, the change in our building codes to becoming more sustainable housing, net zero energy homes, the rise of rooftop solar installations, and transportation, electric cars, and things we can do to harness the environment here. We don't import fossil fuels into our state. We don't mine for oil or coal or natural gas here, or we don't even have a refinery. But we can produce abundant solar energy from the sunshine we get 300 days a year. And then also we have geothermal resources up north, as well as and some wind in certain areas. And then, of course, Hoover Dam, basically being able to produce electricity 2 gigawatts a day out of water from the Colorado River. So we hope that continues as well. And so that's important for us.
Back to our water issue. We want to make sure we don't use that water up so we'll run out of electricity. Hey, we'll be right back to Shades of Green on KDWN. And we're back to Shades of Green on KDWN 720. I'm your host, Paul Ira, and Stan Hannell is in studio with us today, and we're talking Green Gala, amongst other things. We were talking about who was emceeing and some of the awards. The Rob Dornson Environmental Hero Award was near and dear to a few people's heart, brought tears to the crowd, speaker standpoint, and the listeners as well. Stan, you want to talk about Rob a little bit and who he was?
Yeah, Rob, really pioneer of recycling out here in Southern Nevada. He started Evergreen Recycling, and one of our co-founders of the Green Festival, Tracy Skenendor, worked for him. And Rob encouraged that. He did a lot of training efforts and just kind of promoted the use. It really wasn't a big deal out here compared to other states like California and that sort of thing. And so he kind of individually and through his company encouraged it. And then Republic Services bought up his company, and he continued to be an advocate helping start Green Fest. He was one of the co-founders along with Annette and Tracy. And that was about 9 years ago, I guess. And then he contracted ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and passed away almost at the peak of his career. Still a young man, relatively. So basically, Tracy and Annette, when they were putting together the Green Gala, really wanted to commemorate his memory every year, and as well as look for people that were kind of pioneers in creating new ways to encourage sustainability here in the desert and improve the quality of our lives. So this year's winner was Craig Rosen. He's with the Desert Research Institute. He's been active with the STEAM education, bringing science to all the different schools. He was also the chair of the Las Vegas Technology and Science Festival as well. So he's been a worthy winner of the award, and also knew Rob personally. So was glad to see Craig there. Yes, and then I guess the other one that is a commemorative award is the Arnold Lopez Lifetime Achievement Award. And Arnold has been also, he was kind of a co-founder with Annette of the Nevada Energy Star Partners about 15, 16 years ago. He worked for NV Energy as a project development, and he was also one of the resources for the winner, this year's winner, Assemblyman Chris Brooks, when Chris was starting up his rooftop solar company in 2000. It was a brand new industry at that time, and he went to Arnold, who was at NV Energy, a business development person, and Arnold worked with him to make rooftop solar accessible and so that you could connect it to the grid and be part of the utility. And so that was a long timeline of different efforts by a lot of different people to make that happen in our state. But we were when they started, they were kind of ahead of their time, and we still are kind of a leader in rooftop solar. Chris was saying that we are per capita had the largest number of installations of rooftop solar this year again per capita. So and also with geothermal installations in the north, using the steam that comes up from the ground to drive a turbine to make electricity. We are also the largest per capita installed base of that source of power as well in the country. So we've been leading, and hopefully can continue that effort through smart legislation and good business practices going forward.
Yeah, it's fun driving around up north between Reno and Carson City, and you just see steam just shooting out of the ground.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. And there's some very large power plants up there that they look like cooling towers, but they're not. They're generators generating power from the steam, and it's a great idea. I can only imagine the Native Americans walking around looking at this. That's some pretty powerful spirits right
yes,
there
coming
out of the ground. So,
yeah, and it's a totally closed system. So the steam drives the turbines that make electricity, and then the steam condenses, and then they just pump it back into the ground, and then it gets heated by the bubbling hot springs that bring it back up to the surface. So they can operate 24 hours a day, and that's amazing.
I think we call that sustainability.
Yes, we do. Sustainable power, too.
Yes. So some great recipients, Craig Rosen and Assemblyman Chris Brooks, have done great things for the community and for the effort going forward. It was great seeing them, and they both got up and spoke and have brilliant things to say. Good for them. Chris is a big advocate of the electrical union and supports the Brotherhood. So IBEW. Some other recipients, one of our favorites, been on the show a couple times, Garden Farms Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
They do a great job bringing agriculture, if you will, to the schools. I sat and spoke with them for a while about the aspects of the gardens in the schools. And
over 100 schools they've visited and been in charge of. Yeah.
I think they're over 160 now.
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
So
that's
out of
great.
360 schools, they're in almost half of them.
Wow.
And these are one at a time. These are one-offs. Mm-hmm. This is not a school program. And so that's why my hat's really off to them. I mean, they're going school to school, working with the principals, the students, parents. They have to raise the money to build the gardens, and then they come in as farmers and teach the children how to garden. And, so when you consider that they have to learn about raising money to get started, then they learn about the design of the garden, then they construct the garden, then they plant it, then they grow it, and then they harvest it. They eat it, so they learn about nutrition, they learn about construction, they learn about planning and design. Then they take the excess food to a farmer's market, so they learn about commerce and banking and all those kind of things. So it's a wonderful, wonderful program. Yeah. They're doing great work out there.
Yeah, they even bring in chefs from nearby, from the Strip, to help them teach culinary skills as well. So that's fun.
Garden Farms Foundation's one of my, I've been in this business for a long, long time, since the 70s. And one of the issues with sustainability is you don't develop a menu and then go find your food. You go find your food locally as close as possible and as much of it as possible, and then develop your menu from that. So it's my little soapbox on food and gardening.
Yeah, and it's amazing what grows out here. When we had them on the show, we can pretty much grow just about anything out here. We have these microclimates and under the right conditions.
I've been pretty amazed what does grow. I just bought a house, and I've got a giant fig tree,
nice,
multiple pomegranate trees.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to. I've always had an herb garden, and I'm looking forward to gardening all the microgreens and what have you.
That's great.
we've got
herbs.
friends that are growing
Yeah.
these things. They put up vertical gardens by their windows in the house and grow right in the house.
That's amazing.
Amazing amounts of food too.
Yeah, and it's more efficient using water well and using less water.
Right, because these verticals, you water them at the top, and the water runs down and ends up in a trough at the bottom. At the bottom, plants use the water down there. So,
great.
Another award, Howard Watts III won the Community Volunteer Leadership Award. He was involved in the gardening, wasn't he?
A lot of he's been involved in a lot of kind of political organizations. I probably tangentially involved with that as well. But he's a lot of the Conservation League and some of the other things. He's been active, kind of behind the scenes, just helping organize and bring about some of the things with an emphasis on sustainability. So it looks like he was also involved in the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project for a time. So, yeah.
Good. Community Green Building Legacy, UNLV, William H. Harris College of Hospitality won that award.
Yeah.
Green Homes and Neighborhood, I know they've been working closely with Annette a lot, went to Lanier Homes.
Yes, Lennar's
Lennar
actually,
Homes, excuse me.
they worked with the governor's industry task force when we were going through some issues with rooftop solar. They actually have their own SunStreet group that's a turnkey solar system for rooftop solar. So they helped at a corporate level and at a national level to define some of the guidelines that were later adopted during our last legislative session. So very helpful company in trying to help bring a lot of building standards to our area.
Thanks, Stan. For our callers out there, 702-257-5396. Call us. Let us know you're listening to Shades of Green on KDWN. We'll be right back. Good morning. We're back to Shades of Green on KDWN, 720 AM in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Paul Ira. I'm here with Stan Hannell. Listeners, give us a phone call. Let us know you're listening. Ask your questions or make your comments. We'll get them on the air. 702-257-5396. We're talking Green Gala, and it was a great event on Saturday. We talked about Rose McKitty James. She was our MC. Debbie Donaldson inspired us. Craig Rosen won the Rob Dorenson Award, and Assemblyman Chris Brooks won the Arnold Lopez Lifetime Achievement Award. Transformers was one of the awards, and that went to the City of Las Vegas and RTC of Southern Nevada. They're doing great things over there. Both those organizations are transforming the way we live and helping the valley be more sustainable. Innovation, this is another one of my favorites. These guys have been on the show a couple times. UNLV Solar Decathlon Team.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about them, Stan.
Yeah, hometown heroes. We love the Golden Knights, and we're behind them. They've done great things for our city. This is kind of a team that came together among the engineering department and also the hospitality department, a bunch of different colleges at UNLV, and it was pretty much totally volunteer. It comes from the ground up, and they had Dr. David James as a sponsor and teacher and mentor for the program. And this was only the second time that UNLV had entered this competition under the Department of Energy to actually do 10 different competitions that had to do with sustainability, solar, and basically designing a home from the ground up that had all these different features, and then compete against all these other schools, even schools from outside the country, from Lausanne, Switzerland, and so they really their first year out. A couple of years ago, they actually won the U.S. competition, came in like second in the world. This time around, they were up in I'd say the top 5 or so, and they did win the innovation portion of the solar decathlon with their design. Just a beautiful, efficient home, net zero energy, rooftop solar, and even had charging stations for a Tesla that they had at the site. So just a tremendous effort by the students. Took them 2 years, a lot of long hours in addition to their regular studies, and just amazing to see them work and pull that off. So congratulations to the team, and they had 3 of the students there that night, Saturday night, to receive the award, as well as Dr. David James, who's been on the show with us as well.
Yeah, great award. Great job those folks do. Some very bright young leaders. They will be leaders in our community and around the world, I hope.
Yes.
Triple bottom line went to Wynn Las Vegas. Great job they're doing over there in sustainability. What a lot of people may not realize is all of our major casinos have sustainable directors.
Right.
And they do great work in sustainability, conserving water, electricity, giving our guests a great stay and keeping it green out there. So we appreciate everything they're doing, and congratulations to the Wynn.
Yeah, and it's great for their bottom line, as the award shows, is that when they do these green efforts, they save money. If they go to all LEDs, lights, and maintain water conservation, everything, and now with the Wynn and MGM, they've also departed. They've paid money to leave the utility grid, NV Energy, and have gone out and are buying up their own solar farms to provide renewable energy for their buildings as well, and finding that saving money. So there's a lot of incentives for them to go green at a corporate level.
And for those of you who listened in the past have heard me talk about the three-legged stool, you don't want to buy a renewable site until you've done your conservation and efficiency work first. So conservation is when you leave the room, turn the light off. Efficiency is when you're in the room, use a LED.
Right.
And then the third leg is use a renewable power to power that LED. So congratulations to the Wynn of Las Vegas. Sustained excellence, NV Energy. They do a great job of promoting sustainable products and projects. They've got the Empower program. I have an Empower thermostat in my house. It's wonderful. You can run it from your cell phone. I often, like right now, my air conditioning's off. I don't run it if I'm not in the house. And so when I'm getting ready to go home, on my way home, I'll pop it up on my cell phone, turn it on, so it's cooling when I get there. So
right, and you, as a consumer, you can also sign up for my account through NV Energy, and it's pretty good. You can download an app and actually monitor your home usage. There's all sorts of different programs that you can personally take over your energy consumption by monitoring, and then also adopting. They actually, through the Power Shift program, offer a free energy audit for your home. So as the summer's coming on, and usually I know with me. My bill will double during the summer months just because of the air conditioning expenses. So they can bring in an audit and see where people are consuming power in their homes, maybe look at insulation and some of the other things that might be improved to help during the summer months keep those energy costs low.
And NV Energy will come in and do a free audit of your home. They came in and audited my home. I mean, I'm a certified energy manager, and I still had them come in and look at my home. I have compared my bills with my neighbors. Who have the exact same house.
That's right.
And I spend half of what they spend by being a residential energy manager, if you will. And part of that is achieved through having the Empower program and using the programmable thermostat and being conscious of it every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you can spend a lot of money. The house I'm in, the people spent $570 in August of last year for electricity.
Yes.
I will guarantee you I will not be spending that much.
Good.
So re-insulated the home, new ductwork, it's got efficient doors and windows and those kind of things. So
that's wonderful.
Those are things you can do at your home.
Yeah, next month we're having a series of programs, and they're all going to be kind of the theme of next month will be how to handle the upcoming summer months and how to cope with that. So we'll be talking about HVAC. We'll be talking about as well as water conservation and some of the different things on upcoming shows. So stay tuned for that.
It's important to get your HVAC checked out. Right
filters,
now is the time.
And check out those
we'll
filters.
We'll have an HVAC company in here, probably Sierra Air, come in and talk about how to get your system ready for summer. And we'll always be talking about ways to use less water and ways to recycle and
insulate.
Insulate and up-purpose or repurpose or up. What's the term they use?
Repurpose, definitely.
Repurpose equipment and don't throw stuff away. Use it for another reason. So all good. Let's talk about a little bit in the news lately. As I think we're done with Green Gala there, right?
Yes, yeah.
In the news
event.
lately, a lot of pomp and circumstance on that royal wedding. Tell us about your little tidbit there, Stan, of what you saw at the royal wedding.
That's funny. So I was, people were watching the event Saturday morning. It started, I guess, 4 a.m. Saturday morning. So some people were even in pajama parties out in the strip, I think, watching the event. But for me, what was really funny was, and it was beautiful, the fairy tale type of story and all the pomp and splendor of that type of thing. But what caught my interest after the wedding was over and they went out to the reception, they jumped into an old 1968 Jaguar, a classic Jaguar car, and it turns out and drove it to the Harry's brother's house over to William's place, and it turned out it was Jaguar Land Rover. It actually converted the car into an electric vehicle. So, and what was neat, they even enhanced the car to make it run faster than the original series. It was an E-Type Concept Zero, and it has a top speed of 150 mile per hour with a 170 mile range, probably like a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack. And the electric motor delivers about 300 horsepower to the wheels of the car, which is probably a lot more than the original engine did back in 1968.
Probably.
So that was amazing. So the cost of that Jaguar Land Rover, I guess, is can do that also for people for about $500,000 as a private cost of conversion. But the company also is coming out with their iPace electric SUV this year, looking about $70,000. So that's a little more reasonable.
So stay tuned. We'll let you know how to get your car converted on Shades of Green. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Shades of Green on KDWN. I'm your host, Paul Ira. We have Stan Handel in studio with us today. Callers, give us a jingle. Let us know what you're thinking. Ask us your questions. See if we can't help elevate your shade of green. 702-257-5396. That's 257 KDWN. So we've been talking about Green Gala, and we talked a little bit about the royal wedding and the fast cars out there. We can get your car converted. Give Stan a call. He knows all about that.
Love it.
Speaking of cars, the Volkswagen Group recently gave updates about its Electrify American program. Tell us about that, Stan. What's going on with those VW bubs?
Yeah. Well, Volkswagen, as many people may not know, is one of the largest car companies in the world. Basically, they were number one until they had this kind of scandal a couple of years ago with their turbo direct injection diesel engines, the TDI engines, and those were part of. There were TDI versions of the Passat and the Jetta and even the Volkswagen Beetle, as well as Audi. So Volkswagen Group also owns Audi and Porsche. So they are a big conglomerate, and they're up there. Usually it's them or Toyota or GM that are competing for the most car sales every year worldwide. But when that this diesel scandal came out, 2009 to 2015, there were about 500,000 TDI diesel engine vehicles sold within the U.S. during that time, and there was kind of some cheating going on because of the Clean Air Act. There were regulations on nitrogen oxide emissions for cars. We call it NOx. NOx is the particles that are formed that create smog in L.A. And even us here in Las Vegas, we have issues with because of the dust and the surrounding desert with the quality of our air. So NOx emissions are important. So when Volkswagen was selling these diesels, I guess they weren't meeting compliance for NOx emissions. And so the engineers at the time, as a Band-Aid, used their computer software to kind of basically have the vehicles meet the NOx emissions when they were stationary and being tested or, idling. But then when they took off and started moving, in order to up the performance, they would retune the engine on the fly. And unfortunately, that's when you would get a lot more NOx emissions. And not just a little bit, it would sometimes be as much as 30 times the limit in the U.S. So that was, you have 500,000 cars doing that over 7 years. Some red flag warnings went off. A little University of West Virginia test program realized there were some problems, and then they sent their results to the California Air Resources Board, and then they approached Volkswagen. And at that time, the turbo diesel and injection engines, they had a catalytic converter and filters and all that. But a lot of the other companies, in order to meet those clean air standards, were also adding a liquid urea at the tailpipe. So when the emissions would come out of the tailpipe, they would actually saturate it with this chemical, and they would have to have a separate tank. I think BMW had the AdBlue feature on their car, on their diesel engines. So basically, Volkswagen didn't do that, and other companies were that were competing with them were wondering why, and they've kept under their advertising saying that, our catalytic converters and our filtering systems are just good enough. The design's so good that we keep it clean. Well, they were actually using this cheat device, software cheat device, to duck the standards. And so when they were found out 500,000 cars later, basically there were some big fines by the Federal Trade Commission for fraud, basically, and then also the Environmental Protection Agency came out with a separate lawsuit. It was a huge lawsuit, $2 billion settlement that Volkswagen was ordered, and it caused a whole change at the company and also for all the other German companies that were in diesel at the time. So Volkswagen has completely changed CEOs and management, and now they're pushing electric cars because of the influence of the China market as well. So one of the programs to kind of mitigate that 7 years or so of polluting and putting nitrogen oxide into our atmosphere is going forward. They're encouraging the use of zero-emission vehicles, particularly electric cars, and they're promoting the infrastructure, sort of like Tesla's supercharger system across the United States, to put in both DC fast chargers and what they're calling ultra-fast chargers to speed up the charging time for electric cars to be able to travel cross-country. So one way they're going about it is to, as part of that settlement, over the next 10 years, there's going to be basically three or four different phases of implementation. So this first phase that actually will start to roll out this year and be finished by June of 2019 is to install 484 different electric car charging stations for DC fast charge and ultra fast charge systems that can refuel an electric car. Not a Tesla, but a Nissan Leaf, Chevy Bolt EV. Some of the cars that Volkswagen is going to be coming out with within like 15, 20 minutes. So they're hoping to get those the refueling time, the recharging time, compatible with about the time you would spend at a gas station to refuel the pump. So that's their goal. But it's going to take a lot of electricity and a lot of big power systems to do that, and they need to be staged strategically across the country. So basically 484 sites. Each site will have 4 to 10 of these DC fast charge or supercharger stations, and they've announced partnerships with Walmart to do 100 different Walmart stores across the country, as well as Target, and then some other convenience stores partners as well. And then they're partnering with 4 different equipment manufacturers that are providing those charging stations. So like a Tesla supercharger station can charge up for 100 miles in about 15 to 20 minutes and maybe 45 minutes to an hour to get the full recharge. They work at about 120 kilowatts of power transfer in those stations. These new ones that are coming out, the ultra-fast DC chargers, are looking at up to 350 kilowatts of transfer power, which is huge.
Fast.
Yeah, but it also needs a lot of power on site, three-phase industrial power, 400 volts to 800 volts. They're looking at 1,000-volt systems to pump in basically up as 300 amps or so 200 to 300 amps. So it's going to be amazing engineering effort going forward, but we should see the results of phase 1 within the next year, next June. So that's exciting.
That's great. We want to make sure we get all our renewable energy out there powering these power stations and rechargers. So it's been a great week in sustainability. We had the Green Gala, a lot of great awards out there. I encourage people to pick up the latest version, the June version of National Geographic, and look at Planet or Plastic. This has had a big impact on me. I've always been an advocate of recycling. But just one little tidbit here, 18 billion pounds of plastic ends up in the ocean each year.
Wow.
So don't throw that plastic away. Recycle it. Get out there and help save the planet. And listen to Shades of Green on KDWN and your hosts, Paul Ira and Stan Hannell. We'll be back next week. Have a great week, and keep it green out there.